Sometimes, the work is so, you try to be true. You feel sometimes it's on the verge of a kind of craziness, but it isn't really craziness. It's really getting the truest part of yourself out, and it's very hard, I mean, it's not easy, let's say. And yet it can be very simple at the same time.
Welcome back to Musings with Mary. I am Mary Muse. I'm your host, and today we're starting something new. Happy astrological new year. If you didn't know, the start of Aries season is the start of the astrological new year. It's also the start of the spring equinox here in this hemisphere. I really wanted to incorporate some more astrology into this show because it's a really big part of my life. So on the last episode that you listened to, I talked about incorporating little love letters to each zodiac sign. So we're starting today with Aries. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see I have my little red background lights because Aries is certainly a fiery sign. They are a fire sign, literally. They are technically the first fire sign. So they're the first zodiac sign of the zodiac wheel. So kind of baby energy, but in like all the best ways. Today, I'm going to be basically ranting about everything that I love about Aries and some of the things that Aries can work on, because each of these signs, have their positive and their more negative qualities, right? In the spiritual community, a lot of the time people will say it's like the evolved form and the unevolved form of those signs. So we'll talk a little bit about that today. But for the most part, this is just my love letter to Aries because I love Aries so much. And I took some time to kind of reflect on what I wanted to say. So excuse me as I check my notes. Aries, you are a force to be reckoned with. I admire Aries for so many different reasons. And I think that's mostly because I'm a Pisces rising, a late degree Pisces rising, which means that my first house is Aries. So my first house contains my Aries energy, and I have a pretty prominent placement there. My Mars sign is in Aries in the first house. So I very much relate to Aries. I also am notoriously falling in love with Aries sun men. Like my partner of 14 years is an Aries sun. Pedro Pascal, who I was obsessed with, as was everyone else, is an Aries sun. Julian Solomita, I love him so much. Have loved him for a long time since Jenna Marbles used to be making videos. He's an Aries sun. I love Aries sun energy. I just adore it. And I think it's because as a Gemini sun, I feel like we work well together because Gemini is like known for being curious and a little childlike, right? And Aries is technically the baby of the astrological wheel, like I said. So they have that kind of childlike, like whimsical in a way kind of energy. Maybe not whimsical. Pisces is more the whimsical sign, but Aries is like this very inner child energy. They don't give a fuck. You know how kids like don't give a fuck until they learn to give a fuck about how they want to express themselves? Aries is that, okay? So Aries is just like, this is who I am. Hey, it's me. I'm who I am. And I love that. I love that so much about Aries. I thought I'd give a little bit of info about like the general information behind Aries. I already told you Aries is a fire sign, right? Aries is also ruled by the planet Mars. So anything that you know about Mars, Mars is the planet of action, drive, passion, power, lots of things, right? But it's also a planet connected to sexuality for sure. And so that type of energy is at the forefront of Aries. So Aries is they're a little fire starter. They are the spark. That's the way I really like to describe them, is describing them as the spark, like the first fire, the big bang, like, whenever life is first sprouted, because it is the conception, right? And the reason if you're watching the video, I'm thinking of the astrological wheel as I'm motioning in the air here. But Aries is the spark. It is the birth. Okay. So Aries is very connected to like life energy. And so it's this undiluted form of pure life energy. I just love that about Aries so much, because it's like, as we go along, sometimes we get a little more jaded, but we'll talk about that as we go through the astrological wheel this year. There will be one of these episodes monthly, because if you didn't know, you probably do know this, but the sun seasons change around every 30 days. So next month will be April, and we'll be talking about Taurus. But for now, let me continue on with my Aries love. I think that part of the reason why Aries is so like, I'm so magnetized towards Aries is because their sun, when you have Aries, when you have your sun in Aries, that means that you have your sun in an exalted position. What that means in astrology basically is just like, you win. This is the best position that you could have for this planet. Every planet has its own sign that it's exalted in. There are other signs that are less fortunate within astrology, but Aries sun is exalted, which means that it's just like the purest, most strong, most positive form of the sun's expression. But don't let that go to your head, Aries. don't let that be something that drives you over the edge with your ego. But I do love about Aries, like I said earlier, is that they're confident. They're confident. They know that they know who they are, they know what they're capable of, and they're not afraid to show that. And that's a very fire sign energy in general. So the fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. That is definitely a fire sign quality, is just like having that confidence. Earth signs can have that as well. But yeah, every sign can be confident, of course, but I see it the most in these fire signs. And I love that quality about fire signs, especially Aries. Aries also has this like innate connection to justice. Like, they are very concerned with making sure that the little guy gets what they deserve, and that they are not, they fight for the underdog. They are not afraid to stand up for what's right. And if you look on the opposite side of the wheel from Aries, you'll see Libra. Libra is actually literally like concerned with fairness and judgment. And if you think of Libra, you think of the scales, right? So it's that weight of judgment. But Aries and Libra are sister signs. They're on an axis together. So that means that they have like opposing energies that kind of complement each other. So Aries still has that kind of connection to justice. And I love that about them. That makes them so courageous. They are not afraid to stand up for what's right. And I love that. I think that Aries is a great person to have around whenever you need someone to back you up. It's just like the perfect person to call whenever you need someone on your side. And they're not afraid to roll up. Like, they're ready, which can be one of the things that Aries should obviously be careful about, is that, you're ready to fight, but that doesn't mean you always have to fight. And I feel like I can say that as an Aries Mars. I told you that Aries is ruled by Mars. So my Mars placement is in Aries, which means that my Mars placement is in its traditional ruling, I should say. And so, yeah, you girl, I have a rage inside of me. I have a deep rage inside of me. And so I know with my own Aries energy that it's important for me to like kind of battle that impulsivity a little bit, just to make sure that I'm not necessarily picking fights, but I will. You want to fight? Like, okay, let's go. And I'm not talking about physical fights. I'm a pacifist mostly. So, but like, it's hard for me to not get into internet arguments and stuff like that. It's a lesson I've had to learn for my Aries Mars. Luckily, I have a lot of Earth energy to weigh that out with my Taurus Mercury. But we'll talk about that next month. I'm going to kind of be reading myself a little bit throughout these episodes because I will probably bring up my own placements within each of these signs. I don't have a lot of strong energy in every area of the astrological wheel, but we'll get there. But I know for Aries, it's important for Aries to make sure that they're not always taking up the helm to go fight because sometimes things can be solved in other ways. Sometimes you don't always have to fight. But if you do need to fight, you do want Aries on your side. I'll just say that. Otherwise, I honestly can't really, and besides like the impulsivity factor, maybe just like naive, a little bit of naivety. Like you guys are very, I think Aries is very idealistic. For me as a Pisces rising, the signs kind of like mesh into each other because that's what it does to your chart when you have Pisces is that Pisces as your rising is that everything is kind of like melding into each other because the houses, I can't explain this very well. If you don't know what I'm talking about, when I get into a lot of these details about astrology, if you don't know what I'm talking about, but it sounds really interesting to you, I would like to take a moment to recommend my astrology teacher's witchcraft school, in which she has a very comprehensive astrology course that you can buy individually or you can get whenever you join her school. It is the way that I learned astrology, and working with her one-on-one has been the way that I've been able to learn all this stuff and really understand how to read charts and figure out what any of this means. I did not know anything. Before I started working with Danny, I did not know anything about astrology other than like, okay, there's 12 signs. And I know there's stuff other than your sun. There's like a moon and a rising or something. Like I didn't know anything. And now I'm able to look at a chart and decipher what's going on. So if you're interested in that, you can check the link in the show notes to see if that witch school is the right thing for you. If you're interested in witchcraft and astrology, I would really recommend it. I also host a tarot circle once a month in there, and it's really lovely. It is my favorite part of the month, and the people in there are so lovely. If you are on an intentional spiritual path and you want to be able to learn more about astrology, I really encourage you to check out Danny's offerings because she's a fantastic teacher and she's really laid it out in a very simple way for beginners too. But it's not like beginner. It gets you into the intermediate level of things. So I'll leave all that info in the show notes for you guys. And I'm not going to worry too much about being a really like concise educational resource about astrology in these episodes. I'm just yapping. You can get some stuff, little tidbits here and there from me, and I'm happy to provide those. But if you're looking for like comprehensive education, then Danny is your girl. Okay. Just wanted to shout her out. So Aries, I'm going to leave you with my official little love letter. It's almost a poem. I wrote this out this morning whenever I was thinking about you. And this is what I came up with. So this is your official love letter to Aries. Aries, You are sunshine. You are fire. You dazzle me with your smile, your slick admissions of adoration. The way you shelter others, sticking up for what is right, always heart-guided. Your childlike quality, enjoying all the pleasures of life with joy. You wear your emotions on your sleeve, tangled so deeply within your guiding light. Your light, the spark of existence itself, beautiful and awe-inspiring. Just the very beginning to a long road of self-mastery. And yet, you seem to master it all with ease. Passionate, courageous, daring Aries, I send all my love to you during this sun season. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching if you're watching over here on YouTube. I'm going to try this out for a while. We're going to see. Go ahead and comment on the video if you want me to continue making videos for the podcast episodes. If you want more words of affirmation from me, like that little love letter, then I encourage you to join my Patreon. You can join at the $5 tier level to gain access to all kinds of meditations this year. Each month, we're going to be releasing a meditation for that sun sign of the month. So Aries, your meditation is coming up next week. Thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you in next week's episode. You can visit xoxo.com to see all of Mary's links. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all your favorite listening platforms. And if you feel inclined, leave a 5-star review for us. Musings with Mary is listener-sponsored, so if you'd like to support the podcast, please check out our Patreon. Shout out to all our current patrons. Thank you so much for the support. We'll see you in the next episode.